Hey, this is Metal Rob along with
Carcass John.
And you're watching episode 3 of the Metal Roundtable. Today we want to give a shout out real quick to some friends of ours on Facebook, Keith and Luis and Colin, all the administrators over at the Record, Cassette, and CD Asylum on Facebook. This group is metal.
That is metal.
We have bought and sold from these dudes for a little while now on Facebook, since 2015, I guess. And man, if you want to sell your metal collection, if you want to bolster your metal collection, if you want to talk shop about pricing and show off what you have, man, that's the place to do it. The Record, Cassette, and CD Asylum, only on Facebook, Kings of Metal since 2015. You got to check those dudes out.
Yep.
All right. So today's topic, my good man, we are going to talk about radio. In our first couple of episodes, we talked about what got us into metal, and we talked about a couple other things, but a big player for me growing up was radio. And I remember listening to Q102 up in Sherman. There was an affiliate in Sherman, and there was a Q102 in Dallas. And I remember listening to the one in Sherman and waiting for In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins to come on so we could all do that big drum fill, which I now realize was a one-handed da-dun, da-dun,
Yeah.
But it just sounded
It
so...
wasn't a Dave Lombardo style fill. It was just a...
No, absolutely not at all. It was not Gene Hoglan.
No.
Not at all. So, but I remember listening to all that rock radio growing up. Things I've mentioned before, Little River Band, Greg Kihn Band, Genesis, that kind of stuff. Just rock radio. But man, somewhere along the line, I found out about Headbangers Heaven that was on the Eagle here in Dallas, and Metal Shop was syndicated on Q102. At the time, I didn't know it was a syndicated radio show. I didn't know anything about that. But it would come in the mail to those guys on, yes, kids, a record. So the Metal Shop show would show up for that week, and they would play, as I poorly handle this vinyl, they would play the show off the record. That blew me away when I found that out. But you didn't grow up in Dallas, but I remember Headbangers Heaven and those shows turning me on to so many things, and those DJs just seem like gods to me. What was your experience with radio?
Well, I mean, since I'm a little bit older than you, not much, I'm a little bit older, I remember radio being extremely important. In fact, I had a little transistor radio, and I can remember smuggling that radio into class with me when I was in 5th, 6th grade, and listening to the World Series. That was back when they had the World Series on during the day. Mm-hmm. It wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. But I remember my radio, my friend called it the jukebox in your pocket.
Yep.
The thing is you put it on random, and you didn't really get to select the music that you wanted. But just like your Phil Collins In the Air Tonight thing, we would be waiting with bated breath for the Who Won't Get Fooled Again.
Yeah.
And we'd scream at that one part, that breakdown, and we always waited for that. And radio is not unlike it is today, but I grew up listening to all the classic rock. That was what helped propel me into buying certain things. But I didn't really hear metal on the radio until I was in California in the late 70s, early 80s, and there was KNAC, which is still around. Mm-hmm. There was KMET, which is a great hard rock station, KLOS, which was another great one, and it introduced me to the fact that out there on KNEC, they were playing Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and so forth, and you never heard that on regular network radio anywhere else. And, California at the time was always a little more progressive, especially in the music scene, and that went along with the radio vibe too. So that's kind of where I was introduced. And then, of course, Z-Rock was the pinnacle of metal on the radio, and I thought that they had an outstanding idea. They were syndicated in cities across the United States, but they had a real following. and then I never knew. One day they were there, and the next day they were gone.
Yeah, I remember. I have several memories of radio that are pretty cool to me. I remember sneaking out of church when I was a kid. This was '83, I guess. Well, when the US Festival happened, and they had that big metal day. I had my boombox with fresh batteries in my parents' car tuned to whatever station was playing it. And after Sunday school, I went out and I flipped the tape. And after church, I ran out and flipped the tape. And then we had to eat lunch after. And I was just like, it was just torture because all I wanted to do was get out and listen to this event that was going on. So I had that, and I played that on the bus to and from school forever, playing that tape. And I specifically remember the Priest live set. I know I recorded a lot more than that, but the Priest live set is what really stood out to me. And then fast forward a few years when Z-Rock came on the air, I was blown away that you could be driving around at lunch and hear King Diamond or Slayer. It was absolutely the greatest thing that ever happened to radio in Dallas. And for a long time, I didn't know they were based here. And then I figured that out, and they were promoting this local band called Solinger. Johnny Solinger that went on to sing for Skid Row and all that. So I called up the station, and Mad Max Hammer answers. Hey, man, I want to get one of those Solinger CDs. I can't find one anywhere in town. They used to sell them at this place, the Gas Pipe. Sold out. Went to all of them in DFW. He says, if you come over to the studio, I will give you a Solinger CD. And he was true to his word. My buddy and I drove over, met Mad Max down in the lobby. He got off the elevator. I expected this giant hulking guy, and he was a little dude like me. And there was the Solinger CD. He gave it to me. It was even signed by Johnny. I've since let it go somehow. I know. It kills me. But I have a picture somewhere with Mad Max. And Z-Rock just... that was the best. We'll never have radio like that again.
No, and even the XM satellite, the Sirius, the Ozzy's Boneyard, and the Liquid Metal and so forth. I don't think that they capture the real energy because the metal has become so diluted. It's almost like they've got to get every genre you can think of dumped into the station so everybody will listen. It's become more about numbers, and I guess if you put everything from Slipknot to Lulu in there, then you'll get everybody in the audience to at least listen for part of the day. And I think that's where Z-Rock was brilliant, because they had a compressed list of great metal that they played consistently.
I used to listen to those shows, and I'd be waiting by the radio with my tape player on record and pause, so that I could and as soon as I'd hear the note of some song I want, I'd release, pause, and record those. And if I could get those mixtapes back, that's how I found out about so many bands. Hellstar being one of them. All that early Metallica, man, that I taped all that off the radio. So I am not super in the know about internet radio. My buddy up in New Jersey, Rich from Pale Horse, does a radio show, Brothers Grimm radio show, and I've checked that out. It's pretty good. It's super heavy. But what's your interest or experience with internet radio?
Well, I've done some local shows. Nothing But Metal is one of them, with Mike Sorg and Troy Pope. They do a great job on a Monday night on Fishbowl Network in the Red Room. That's right, Fishbowl Network in the Red Room. And we've had some fun. We had the Gamma Side guys on there one night, and then one night they had me up there, and we were talking about my art and how I connected with the art world and the metal world, etc. But other than that, I know that they've got some great some great local stations. But there's nothing that's consistent. That you can flip the switch and then there's King Diamond, or Vicious Rumors, or Overkill, or whatever. We just don't have a station like that.
Right. If you know of a station like that, let us know. We are interested. Put it down in the comments. Let us know what your favorite internet radio stations are. Let us know what you grew up listening to and where you grew up listening to it. Tell us what you discovered on metal radio back in the day. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube. Find the channel. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Feel free to put comments. We will answer. We do hang out on there a little bit and see what you guys have to say. You can follow us on Instagram. I am Metal Rob. He is at Carcass John Art. And remember, until next time, metal will prevail. We'll see you soon.